Welcome back, the rare and valuable coins today. We're diving deep into the world of silver Washington quarter dollars. But not just any quarters. We're talking about the ones that sold for thousands of dollars at auction. So let's get started. First, up in today's episode, we're examining another interesting coin from the Washington Quarter Series, the 1988 Washington Quarter Dollar with a D mint mark. A silver-like appearance, and described as being in bad condition with visible scratches. Whether you're a casual collector, a beginner, or someone who just found this coin in your change, we'll break down its background, composition, and what it might be worth in today's market. Let's start with a quick overview of the Washington Quarter. First introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. This coin quickly became a permanent part of U.S. coinage. The obverse of the coin features a portrait of George Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. You'll see the inscriptions, "Liberty in God We Trust," and the date in this case, 1988. The reverse design shows a proud bald eagle standing on a bundle of arrows, with olive branches beneath, symbolizing both strength and peace. Now, let's talk about your specific coin, a 1988 Washington Quarter with a D mint mark. That mint mark stands for the Denver Mint, which was one of the primary mints producing quarters during this era. In 1988 alone, the Denver Mint struck over 596 million Washington quarters. That means this particular year and mint combination is not rare. It was mass-produced for circulation and is still very commonly found today. Next, we'll address one of the most frequently asked questions: is this coin made of silver? While your coin may have a silver-like appearance, it is not made of silver. The last circulating U.S. quarters made of 90% silver were struck in 1964. Since 1965, all regular issue quarters for circulation have been made from a copper-nickel clad composition that's a core of solid copper with an outer layer of copper and nickel. This blend gives the coin a silvery look. But there's no actual silver content in a 1988 quarter. Now, let's move on to the condition. You've described this coin as being in bad condition with scratches. In coin grading terms, bad condition usually refers to a coin that's heavily worn, with significant loss of detail. Washington's portrait may be faint, the date may be partially faded, and the reverse side might have flat or smooth areas where the eagle's feathers once were. On top of that, scratches and discoloration further reduce the coin's visual appeal and collector interest. When it comes to value, condition matters a lot. Collectors typically look for coins in excellent and circulated condition, especially those with sharp details, full rims, and no visible damage. Unfortunately, a heavily circulated coin with scratches and wear, like yours, is generally valued at face value, which is 25 cents, even though it's part of a beloved and widely collected series. The 1988D Washington Quarter is simply too common and too worn in this case to carry a premium. However, there are a few rare exceptions. In any year of coinage, era coins can slip through. These include double strikes, off-center strikes, missing elements, or incorrect planchettes. For 1988 quarters, some known era varieties exist, and these can be quite valuable depending on the severity and uniqueness of the error. If you notice anything unusual about your coin, like doubled letters, a strange edge, or off-center design, it could be worth taking to a professional or certified coin dealer for a closer look. You might also wonder if discoloration or a toned surface adds any value. In most cases, especially for lower-grade coins, discoloration or surface changes due to oxidation, dirt, or damage do not increase the value. If the toning is unattractive or uneven, it usually detracts from the coin's desirability. Some collectors do appreciate naturally toned coins when they're visually appealing and on higher-grade coins. But that's not often the case for heavily circulated examples. In today's auction market, coins like this one, a 1988D Washington Quarter, in circulated or bad condition typically sell for face value, unless bundled in rolls, bulk lots, or themed sets. Online listings often show these coins priced at 25 to 50 cents, but that price usually includes shipping or bulk packaging. Standalone value for a single circulated coin rarely exceeds $1 unless it has a rare mint error or is in pristine condition. To sum things up, your 1988 Washington quarter with D-Mint mark may look silver, but it is not silver. It's a copper-nickel clad coin, produced in large numbers at the Denver Mint and very common in circulation. Given that it's in bad condition with visible scratches, it's considered a low-grade coin and typically worth about 25 cents. Its face value. While it may not be worth a fortune, it still has value as a piece of U.S. history and is part of a long-running and popular coin series. Next up, we explore the value, history, and hidden details behind everyday U.S. coins. In this video, we're focusing on a 1972 Washington $quarter coin without a mint mark. It's got a silver-like color, shows signs of extra fine condition, and has a few minor scratches. If you've come across one of these coins and are curious about its composition or value in today's market, stick around as we break it all down in simple, clear terms. Let's start with the basics. The Washington quarter is a long-standing, an iconic coin in U.S. history. First introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington's 200th birthday, the quarter has kept its core design for many decades. On the front or obverse, we see a left-facing profile of George Washington, with the inscriptions, "Liberty in God We Trust," and the year of issue, which in this case is 1972. On the reverse, there's the traditional eagle design, a bald eagle, with wings spread, standing on a bundle of arrows with olive branches below, symbolizing peace and strength. Now, let's talk about the mint mark. The 1972 quarter you're looking at doesn't have a mint mark, which tells us it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. In 1972, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 215 million quarters, making it a fairly common issue in the Washington quarter series. So, while the date might seem old at first glance, this specific coin isn't considered rare. You may notice the coin has a silver-like color, which brings up an important question. Is the 1972 quarter made of silver? The answer is no. While it appears silver in tone, it's not made of precious metal. After 1964, the U.S. Mint stopped using 90% silver in quarters. Beginning in 1965, quarters intended for circulation were produced with a copper-nickel clad composition. This means there's a solid copper core with outer layers made from a copper-nickel blend, giving it that shiny, silvery appearance. So, while your 1972 coin may look silver, it contains zero actual silver content. Next, let's talk about the condition of your coin. You've described it as being an extra fine condition, which is very good for a coin that's been in circulation for over 50 years. In numismatic terms, extra fine or XF means that most design details are still sharp and visible, though there may be light wear on the high points of the coin, such as Washington's hair or the eagle's feathers. The coin might have lost some of its original mint luster, and minor scratches from handling over the years are expected. Scratches do impact visual appeal slightly, but as long as they're not deep gouges, they typically don't eliminate the coin's collectability at this grade. So, what is a 1972 Washington quarter without a mint mark worth today in extra fine condition? In most auction markets and collector circles, these coins usually sell for between 50 cents and $1.50, depending on the buyer's interest and the coin's overall eye appeal. While that might not sound like a fortune, it's certainly more than face value, and for many collectors, finding coins in extra fine or better condition from the early 1970s is still rewarding. Keep in mind that if your coin had a mint error, like doubling, off-center striking, or die cracks, it could be worth significantly more. Some 1972 quarters with noticeable minting errors have sold for tens or even hundreds of dollars, depending on how rare or dramatic the error is. So if your coin looks unusual in any way, it might be worth getting it evaluated by a professional coin grader or a reputable dealer. Another thing to consider is demand. Washington quarters, especially those from the pre-statehood series like this 1972 example, are popular with collectors putting together year sets or type collections. An XF 1972 quarter with no mint mark can be appealing to collectors looking for a better-than-average coin for that year. If your coin still has decent luster and sharp details despite some light scratches, it could stand out in a collection. To check real-time value, take a look at recent online auction sales. Sites like eBay often list circulated 1972 quarters in XF condition selling in the $1 range. If you bundle the coin with others or sell it to someone assembling a full set, it might bring a better return. So to summarize, your 1972 Washington quarter without a mint mark is a Philadelphia minted coin made of copper nickel, not silver. Its extra fine condition gives it some added value beyond face value, despite the scratches. It's not rare, but it's a solid example of classic U.S. coinage and a nice addition to any collection. Next up in this video, we'll take a close look at a 1996 Washington $quarter coin with P mint mark. It has a silver-colored appearance, is in fine condition, and shows some scratches from circulation. Whether you're a coin collector, a hobbyist, or someone who stumbled upon this coin and got curious, you're in the right place. Let's dive into the background, features, and current value of this interesting piece. First, a little history. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American coinage since 1932, originally released to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. This design by sculptor John Flanagan features the first U.S. president on the obverse. You'll see the inscriptions, "Liberty in God We Trust," and the year in this case, 1996. On the reverse, the traditional design shows a bald eagle with wings spread, standing on a bundle of arrows with olive branches underneath, symbolizing both war readiness and peace. Now let's focus on your coin, the 1996 Washington quarter with a P mint mark. That P indicates that the coin was minted at the Philadelphia Mint. In 1996, the Philadelphia Mint produced more than 925 million of these quarters. That makes it a very common circulation coin, with no scarcity based on mintage alone. Because of this high mintage, most 1996 P quarters found in circulation aren't rare and won't fetch a high premium unless they're in uncirculated or error condition. You mentioned that the coin has a silver appearance. That's a good observation, but it's important to clarify that this coin is not made of silver. Since 1965, the U.S. Mint has used a copper-nickel-clad composition for quarters intended for general circulation. This includes a solid copper core with outer layers of copper and nickel. This gives the coin a shiny, silver-like surface, but there's no real silver content in your 1996 quarter unless it's a special proof version struck in 90% silver. And those were only produced for collectors and are typically found in sets, not in regular circulation. Your coin is in fine condition, which refers to a circulated grade that shows moderate wear but retains clear details of the major design elements. In this condition, you can still see Washington's facial features, hairline, and most of the eagle's body and wings on the reverse. However, there is likely some flattening of high points and light to moderate surface wear. The scratches you mentioned are normal signs of use, especially for a coin that's nearly 3 decades old. As for value, coins in fine condition are considered circulated and are usually valued at face value, which is 25 cents. While collectors prefer higher grade coins in mint or near mint state, Some may collect circulated examples as part of year sets or to complete albums. In online marketplaces, a single 1996 P quarter in fine condition might sell for around 25 to 50 cents, mostly depending on buyer interest and shipping costs. Now, let's touch on the possibility of errors or variations. While 1996 quarters are common, some rare error coins have been discovered, for example, off-center strikes, double dies, or coins struck on the wrong planchette. These error coins can be worth significantly more depending on the severity of the error and how well it's preserved. If your coin shows anything unusual like doubled letters, strange edges, or odd shapes, it might be worth having it reviewed by a coin grading expert. One more note. There were special proof and silver-proof versions of the 1996 quarter released by the U.S. Mint for collectors. These proof coins have a mirror-like finish and were struck on high-quality planchettes, including some in 90% silver. They were sold in protective cases or official U.S. Mint proof sets. If your coin looks unusually shiny or detailed, you may want to check the edge of the coin for a copper stripe. If there is no copper edge visible, it could possibly be a silver proof, but that's rare to find in circulation. Most likely, though, your coin is the regular copper-nickel version. In today's auction market, circulated 1996 P quarters rarely sell for more than face value. However, if you group them into bulk lots or rolls of 40 quarters, some collectors or resellers may offer a slight premium. But as a single coin in fine condition with scratches, its real value lies more in its educational and historical interest than in monetary worth. To summarize, your 1996 Washington quarter with P Mint mark was minted in Philadelphia and is made of copper nickel, not silver. It's in fine condition, shows light wear and scratches, and is considered a common coin, generally worth 25 cents. Unless it has a major mint error or is part of a rare proof set, it's more of a nostalgic piece than a valuable one. Next up, where we take a deeper look into the fascinating world of U.S. coins and uncover their value, history, and hidden details. In today's video, we're turning our attention to a 1982 Washington $quarter coin with a P Mint mark. The coin has a silver-like color, is in very fine condition, and shows some scratches from circulation. Whether you're a coin collector, a hobbyist, or simply someone interested in coin values, this video will give you all the essential information you need about the 1982 quarter. Let's begin with the background. The Washington quarter was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the obverse of the coin features a left-facing profile of President Washington, along with the words Liberty, In God We Trust, and the year in this case, 1982. On the reverse side of the coin, we see the classic eagle design, a bald eagle with wings spread, perched on a bundle of arrows and an olive branch beneath it. This traditional design was used until the start of the 50-state quarters program in 1999. The P Mint mark on your coin tells us it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the main production facilities of the U.S. Mint. In 1982, the Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 500 million quarters, a lower number than in some previous years, but still a high enough mintage to make this coin common in circulation. Now, let's talk about the coin's appearance. You mentioned that it has a silver color, which is normal for quarters produced after 1965. However, it's important to note that this coin is not made of real silver. After 1964, the U.S. Mint stopped using 90% silver in its quarters due to the rising cost of silver and transitioned to a copper-nickel clad composition. This means the coin has a solid copper core with an outer layer made of a copper-nickel alloy, which gives it that familiar silvery shine. So, while it looks silver, it contains no actual silver content unless it's a special collector's edition, and those would not typically have been found in circulation. Let's move on to condition. the coin you have is in very fine condition, which in numismatic grading refers to a coin that has clearly circulated but still retains most of its design elements. The major details, such as Washington's hair and facial features, are worn but still visible, and the eagle on the recolage and the eagle on the reverse side shows good feather detail, even if some high points are smoothed out. There are some scratches, which is typical for circulated coins, especially ones that are over 40 years old. These minor marks don't significantly hurt the value unless they are deep or damage. Important parts of the design as far as value goes. The 1982p Washington quarter in very fine condition is typically worth around 30 to 50 cents in today's collector market, depending on overall eye appeal and demand. It's a common coin, so unless it has something unique or rare about it, like a minting error, the value stays close to face value. However, if grouped with other coins in a collection or sold as part of a date set, it could fetch a little more from interested buyers. There's one special point worth mentioning about quarters from 1982. That year, due to budget cuts at the U.S. Mint, no official uncirculated mint sets were produced. That makes high-grade 1982 quarters slightly more desirable to collectors because they are harder to find in pristine, mint state condition. However, this mostly affects coins in uncirculated grades like MS63 or higher. Your coin, being in very fine condition, it's still considered circulated and doesn't fall into that high-grade category, but it's still an interesting piece from a unique year in U.S. Mint history. What about errors like many quarters? The 1982p can have rare and valuable minting errors. Look for things like double dies, off-center strikes, or planchette errors. These can raise the coin's value significantly, sometimes into the hundreds of dollars. If your coin looks unusual in any way, especially if lettering looks doubled or the design is misaligned, it might be worth having it evaluated by a coin dealer or grading service. Next up, where we explore the fascinating world of U.S. coins, one coin at a time. In today's video, we'll be taking a close look at the 1965 Washington quarter dollar, a coin that often sparks curiosity among collectors and casual finders alike. The coin we're discussing today has no mint mark, has a silver-like appearance, is in fine condition, and has some scratches from circulation. Let's break down the history, composition, and current market value of this iconic coin and find out whether it's something special or simply a well-traveled piece of American change. Let's start with some history. The Washington quarter was first issued in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. The coin features a portrait of Washington on the obverse, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. On the reverse, the design shows a bald eagle with wings spread, perched on a bundle of arrows and framed by olive branches symbolizing both strength and peace. These designs became instantly recognizable and remained in use until the 50 state quarters program began in 1999. Now, let's talk about the year. 1965, a critical turning point in the history of U.S. coinage, until 1964. Quarters were made from 90% silver. However, due to rising silver prices and a national coin shortage, the U.S. Mint made a historic decision. Beginning in 1965, quarters were no longer made with silver. Instead, the Mint adopted a clad composition, a copper core sandwiched between layers of copper and nickel. The result was a coin that maintained the same size and appearance as its silver predecessor, but without any silver content. That's what makes 1965 quarters so interesting. They look silver, but they are actually copper-nickel clad. Your 1965 quarter has no mint mark, which was typical for coins minted in Philadelphia at that time. In fact, the Philadelphia Mint didn't use a mint mark on quarters in 1965, and neither did the Denver Mint. This was part of the Mint's effort to discourage coin hoarding during the changeover from silver to clad coinage. Because of this, all 1965 quarters regardless of where they were minted. You know, minted to peer, without a mint mark. Now, let's consider the condition of your coin. You mentioned it is in fine condition, with some scratches. In numismatic terms, fine means the coin has circulated and exhibits noticeable wear, but the main design elements remain visible. Washington's profile and the eagle on the reverse are still clear, though worn down. Fine condition is typical for a coin that has been in pockets, registers, and coin jars for decades. The scratches are consistent with this level of wear and don't significantly impact its baseline value. So how much is your 1965 quarter worth in today's market? Since these coins were produced in extremely high numbers, over 1.8 billion were minted. They are not rare in general circulation. A circulated 1965 Washington quarter in fine condition typically carries a value of 25 cents, or face value. However, in some cases, people confuse these coins with pre-1965 silver quarters due to their color and age. Remember, only quarters minted in 1964 and earlier contain 90% silver. Your 1965 coin does not contain any silver, despite its silvery shine. That said, there is one interesting exception that's worth mentioning. A very small number of 1965 quarters were accidentally struck on leftover 90% silver planchettes from 1964. These error coins are incredibly rare and can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition. These silver error quarters weigh 6.25 grams, while standard copper-nickel 1965 quarters weigh 5.67 grams. So if you have a precise scale at home, you can weigh your coin to see if it's heavier than normal. If it is, it may be worth having it authenticated by a professional grading service. Beyond that rare error, 1965 quarters are generally collected as part of date runs or for historical interest. While they don't hold high monetary value in circulated condition, they mark the beginning of a major change in U.S. coinage, and, for that reason, they're still a valuable part of any educational or beginner's collection. To sum it all up, your 1965 Washington quarter with no mint mark is made of copper-nickel, not silver, and was minted during the first year of the clad coinage era. In fine condition with some scratches, its value is typically 25 cents, less it turns out to be one of the rare silver planchette errors. It's a common coin, but a historically significant one. Thank you for watching and being part of our growing community of coin enthusiasts. If you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below with your own coin finds. You never know, your everyday pocket change might hold a story worth telling. Until next time, happy collecting.